Hello and welcome back to Football League World TV. I'm Billy Mulley, and today I'm bringing you the latest instalment of our EFL Transfer Zone. It's Friday the 10th of June, which means it's the official opening of the summer transfer window. And it might not have been the quickest market so far, but I think we're all anticipating it will pick up from here on in. I'm here with Chris Gallagher to assess some of the biggest and hitting stories of the EFL over the last sort of 4 days. Chris, how are you getting on today?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. And yeah, as you said, it's only day one, but there seems to be a lot to get through. And as you say, it's going to pick up, so it should be an interesting few weeks ahead.
Yeah, as Chris says, there is a lot to get through, a lot on this list today that we'll talk about. But before we start, just want to plug the Football League World TV YouTube channel. Any subscriptions or any likes would be much appreciated as we continue to build our channel. But for now, we'll dive straight in, Chris. The first one that we will discuss is Middlesbrough are considering a loan move for Adam Armstrong. And I guess the first question is, can you see that happening, given that you know how well he has performed in the Championship in the past, and you know he's still kind of in his infancy at Southampton, I guess.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue or the biggest hurdle here for Middlesbrough is going to be Southampton's willingness to let him leave, because they're not exactly blessed with loads of options up front, and then you have Broja going back to Chelsea, so that's obviously left them one short as well. So I'd imagine this is one they're going to have to be patient with and try and pick it up towards the end of the window, because as you said, if they can get Armstrong with his record in the Championship, it'd be a fantastic bit of business. So it's one that I think Chris Wilder probably will be willing to wait if there is a chance of it happening, but they're going to be reliant on Southampton, and I think that's the case with a lot of loan deals. The Premier League club in this case they're not going to do anything until they're ready, until they've got their replacements lined up. So yeah, I think this is really all on Southampton really, and depending on what they can get done.
And just like the January transfer window, it seems that Chris Wilder is attempting to use this summer, this transfer window, to really bolster his forward options. And another player that has been linked with Middlesbrough is Dwight Gayle. We've also found out now that Sheffield United are also willing to test Middlesbrough in the race for the Newcastle United forward. So looking into his situation, Dwight Gayle, obviously a consistent scorer of goals when he has been in the Championship before. Middlesbrough and Sheffield United, two teams that will be aspiring to be at the top of the pile come the new season. Do you see any of those two being successful in their pursuits of Gayle, or do you see anybody else perhaps testing them?
Yeah, I think it's a similar story with Armstrong. Really, as you said, he's a proven player at this level. So if you can get him, you're gonna do all you can to get that deal sorted. I think Eddie Howe's really talked him up a lot in terms of his influence off the pitch, but he just hasn't given him the minutes. So I think at his age, and he knows that Newcastle are going to be in the market for at least one more striker this summer. So yeah, I think he needs to leave for his own career, and I think a loan will be pretty straightforward in terms of it will happen, and there'll be less. You won't be like Southampton where you're waiting for things to happen. So yeah, I think he will be available, and I think for Sheffield United or Middlesbrough, it would be a great signing, and one that would send out a statement to the rest of the league that they're serious about promotion, because even though he's getting on a bit, he is a goal scorer, and that's what you need to be in the mix for promotion.
I'm making it 3 out of 3 transfer stories that we're going to be talking about so far involving Middlesbrough and going for forwards. The next player on the list is Cameron Archer. Obviously, a very, very productive spell with Preston North End. It's a guess at the moment. We're not too sure what the next step might be. Aston Villa may look to run the rule over him, and a later decision might be made. But Middlesbrough are not on their own, in this pursuit. Watford and also Rangers are involved at the moment as things stand. Middlesbrough, I think we've spoken a lot about that as a potential destination already. What about Watford and under this sort of new Rob Edwards era? Can you see him going to a club like Watford? A progressive new manager. Do you think he could get the best out of someone like Cameron Archer?
Yeah, I definitely think he could, but I think Villa's worry will be will he play, because obviously Watford, there's a lot of uncertainty now surrounding the strikers and the forward options they've got. because we know like João Pedro, Dennis, and maybe Sarr. I know he's not a striker, but they're all linked with the move away. So it's going to be interesting to see how Rob Edwards sets up if he continues with the 3-5-2, which you would expect. Whether Archer could work in that, but if it's a 4-3-3 or whatever, it could be a bit different. So yeah, there's probably a lot of question marks over Watford in terms of that from Villa's perspective. But obviously they'll be asking the questions before they agree to loan him out. I think Preston as well, we know want him, and they know that's a good fit for Archer. So that could give them the edge maybe. With Rangers, it's a similar story. If they keep Morelos, will he play? Which is you'd probably say he wouldn't. So yeah, there's a lot of question marks. I think Villa will only want to do a deal where he's going to get minutes. So it's about finding that club that could do that. But if Watford do promise minutes, then yeah, it would be a good fit for all concerned.
And then looking at Rangers as sort of a potential blow to the other two Championship clubs, the lure of perhaps European football, the Steven Gerrard connection as well. Is that something that you could see working in Rangers' favour, or just keeping him within the English football pyramids might be the best next option for him?
Yeah, I think Rangers, because of Gerrard, as you said, there's some people maybe in this country who look down a bit at Scottish football, but Gerrard obviously knows exactly what Rangers are all about, the size of the club, and as you mentioned, European football. I think pretty sure that is guaranteed next season, and it could even be Champions League. So yeah, if they do say Archer's going to be part of their plans, then you would expect Rangers to be the firm favourites to land him, because it's a massive club. It's for Villa's perspective, they'll be throwing him in at the deep end really, and then you see how he reacts, which is what you want. I think that there maybe would be concerns that Diallo from Amad Diallo, Man United, didn't do well at Rangers and didn't really play, so it is something you have to consider. But with Gerrard's connection with Rangers, I'd say if he did go there, they'd know that Archer's going to be in the mix for the first team, and then that is a great environment for him to be playing.
And then moving on to something that doesn't have a Middlesbrough striker connection, our first sort of news story away from that is Bristol City edging closer to a Kane Wilson signing. Obviously a very, very good spell with Forest Green last year. 3 goals, 13 assists, scooped up the Player of the Season award in League Two as well. One they've been monitoring for a while, but it appears now personal terms have been agreed, with confirmation within the next 48 hours, reportedly. So, considering, the likes of Watford again, Nottingham Forest have been credited with an interest, Birmingham as well. How big of a signing do you think that can be? And do you see him immediately coming into the fray, or somebody that might take a little bit of time to adapt to 2 levels above?
Yeah, I think you would have concerns about that, but I think the way he played last year, as you mentioned, both the stats and the recognition he received shows that Wilson really was a top player in League Two. So I wouldn't have many doubts at all about him handling the step up. I think, this is a great bit of business for Bristol City. We know that the financial situation means Pearson isn't going to be backed with significant funds in the market, so it's about finding a few bargains, finding free agents and out-contract players, and so far it's so good, and this would be excellent if they can get it over the line, which we believe they will. I think the Bristol City fans should be delighted with how it's going so far.
And just a little bit about Bristol City signings so far. You've sort of hinted at some praise for what they've done so far. They've brought Cal Naismith in already. They've brought Mark Sykes from Oxford. Getting Kane Wilson, just exactly how big and how much of a statement does that make early in this sort of transfer window? And, we've mentioned there that Nigel Pearson won't have the financial backing. How big are these sort of free signings that, you're beating other Championship clubs for?
Yeah, it is. It's massive. Yeah, I know. Obviously, as a Luton fan, you weren't too pleased when Naismith left, but that was one that shocked a lot of neutrals, I'd imagine, and it shows that they're obviously selling a project to the players, that they can see that the club are trying to move forward and that they're aiming high. So, because as you said as well with Wilson, there was a lot of interest in him. So Bristol City are obviously doing something right in terms of convincing these players that their future lies at Ashton Gate. So for the fans, you would be delighted. I think there's always pressure when you've got no money. You kind of have to you can't really waste deals. You have to make sure everything's right. And so far, you'd say it's 3 excellent signings for them, which the recruitment team deserve huge praise for.
And then moving on to Sheffield Wednesday, one player they've been linked with another move for is Harley Dean, given that he spent the second half of last season on loan with the Owls. Defensive recruitment does seem to be something they may be prioritising, as well as their forward line. I think that there's been a lot so far concerning both sides of the pitch. But is Harley Dean somebody that could come in and, you know, make a real impact? Because again, the expectations are going to be high at Sheffield Wednesday next season.
Yeah, I think Darren Moore obviously didn't like using too many centre halves last year. He seemed to put anyone there, but yeah, I think when Harley Dean came in, he did do well. The injury obviously was far from ideal. It came at a bad time, but when he did play, you could see that he was a pretty reliable, strong defender for League One. So yeah, this seems like a no-brainer if they can get it done. You'd think the wages might be an issue, but Birmingham want him out the door, so that's always a good start. So yeah, I think if they can get it done, it'd be the same for any League One side, really. If you brought in Harley Dean, it's a really good bit of business, and especially with Hutchinson leaving, they maybe need that experienced leader at the back, and he knows the club a bit. He knows the players from that few months spell. So yeah, there doesn't seem much wrong with this at all, and it's one that they need to get done if they can.
And coming to the halfway point of today's transfer zone, just any news stories that anybody watching likes the look of, anything they don't like the look of, please feel free to get your comments in. We will look through them and we will display some and get Chris to answer a few that maybe we haven't spoken about yet so far. But who knows, they could be coming on during the next sort of 5 questions or so. We'll stick with Sheffield Wednesday, Chris. And I guess the one of the more pressing ones, it seems quite quick moving at the moment, is Malik Wilks. Sort of a point of interest for Peterborough as well. But a player that hasn't really been able to cut it at championship level with Hull this season. Had a really, really good League One campaign during the 2020-21 season. And sort of the attraction of the Premier League during that campaign. Still only 23. So is that the kind of move that would be really, really beneficial to Sheffield Wednesday and their automatic promotion pursuit?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Wilks. I think his performances for Hull in that League One promotion winning season were really impressive. I think it was 19 goals from out wide, obviously a forward position as well. But he is really a talented player. I think if you can get him focused and firing, I think Darren Moore's kind of made a thing of that. He seems to be a good man manager with certain characters. I think obviously we know he brought Berahino back, and at West Brom he galvanised the group really. He brought a good spirit together when there was a lot of off-field problems. So he does seem a manager that the players really respect, and someone who can get players focused and firing. So yeah, if he can do that with Wilks, I think that season with Hull shows that you're getting someone who could be one of the best players in the league if he is ready and on it. So for the price you're looking, I think it won't be much because he's entered now the last year of his contract with Hull, taking up that year option. So you're not looking at a big fee. You're not looking at much of a risk. And I think the potential rewards are massive because he could take them to the Championship. And then I'd still back him to eventually, if he finds the right club to show in the Championship, that he could deliver at that level. So yeah, I'd be quite excited if I was a Wednesday fan about this one. It's the sort of signing they should be making.
Then moving on to a club that is pushing for promotion, automatic promotion in the Championship, West Brom, and naturally the expectation levels will rise for next season. I think Steve Bruce has said that he would like to bolster his right wing back options or right back options, dependent on what happens next year, whether they revert to a back four or not. One player they have been casting their eyes on is Luton Town's James Bree, 24-year-old, enjoyed a really, really productive campaign for the Hatters last year. Is he the kind of player that could bolster competition levels at sort of that right wing back, right back position? And is he worth paying a fee for? We mentioned before, Luton don't disclose contract lengths, so it's difficult to determine when his contract expires, therefore difficult to gauge what kind of fee would be demanded. But is he the kind of player that they should be looking to spend money on?
Yeah, well, I think, as you mentioned there, it had been reported that he was going to be available on a free, and I think if that was the case, then it was a complete no-brainer for every club in the league, really, because his performances for Luton in the past year have been outstanding, really, and I think most would regard him as one of the better right-backs in the league. So, yeah, for Albion's perspective, if they can get him in, it would be a great addition to the squad. I think the dynamics change quite a bit when you look at the transfer fee, because Furlong's also a pretty good and reliable fullback, and we know that West Brom aren't going to have massive funds available this summer. So then you ask the question, should Bruce really be spending on a right back when you've got Furlong? And I'd probably say not. I think you can find a cover as a free agent. You can find a loan that would someone to come in and boost the squad. You don't really need to be paying money for someone who's obviously a very good player, but when you've got Furlong who can do a job. So I think that whatever money he does have available would be better put used to other areas in the squad. So I'd probably leave this one with a fee required. So, and I think Luton will obviously not want to sell, so it'll be a hard deal to do, and I wouldn't expect it to happen.
Another very interesting sort of situation that is likely to develop in the Championship this summer is the future of Arsenal's Daniel Ballard. Enjoyed a very, very good spell with Millwall, who are likely to be back in. I think, if I'm right, they would like to do a permanent deal only if the price is right, which it depends what Arsenal are demanding, really. But there are other clubs in pursuit. QPR, Burnley and Sheffield United all interested in the 22-year-old. Looking at Daniel Ballard, what he's done so far, how high the ceiling is, it's a little bit of a no-brainer, isn't it, for these clubs? And as long as the fee is not stupidly high.
Yeah, I'd agree entirely. As you mentioned there, the age is crucial as well, because he's got so long left in his career that this is a long-term investment, and you're getting a player who's shown already that he's a good Championship defender, and the ceiling that you've touched on there, he can get even better. So yeah, I think it's not a surprise that there's a lot of interest in him. I think Arsenal will be aware that they'll be able to get a decent sum for him, and obviously they'd hope for a little auction to raise the price. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if you did have a few serious offers going in for him, because yeah, as I said, you're getting a proven Championship defender at 22 years old. So yeah, there's not much to moan about, really. I think whoever does manage to bring him in will be making a good signing.
And all we know so far that there is Championship interest. Do you think he's somebody that, you know, could represent an option in the higher division, given he's still 22, given, you know, he's naturally progressed, impressed in League One, impressed in the Championship last season? Can you see perhaps Premier League interest surfacing?
I think they'd be looking at him, but I don't think they've paid the punt on him just yet. I think you'd want maybe another year or two in the Championship to see, because he's obviously still young. He has, as you said, he has done well, but you still have a few doubts. Obviously, the Premier League's a much higher level, and you don't want him to go to a club really where he's not going to play and he'll be in and out the team. So I think the Championship is his level now for another few years, and if he can kick on as we expect, then those Premier League moves, if he doesn't go up with the club, could be come to fruition further down the line.
And then our next news line, coming on to the penultimate one here, is that Preston seem to be advancing in their pursuit of Freddie Woodman, goalkeeper that has really, really impressed in the Championship before with Swansea. I think he won the Golden Glove during the 2020-21 season, went on loan to Bournemouth during the second half of the last season, but was unable to steer a place ahead of Mark Travers. But here it seems that a loan deal could come to fruition with a permanent move, with that sort of clause inserted in it. So do you think that is something that Preston should be jumping at, or do you think there's any other clubs that might try and hijack this deal?
Yeah, I'm quite surprised that Preston appear. Obviously, we're only going on the rumours, but I'd have expected quite a lot of interest in Woodman, because he's, as you mentioned, after his time with Swansea, his stock was really high. I think there was a feeling he maybe could go back to Newcastle and force his way into the team after how well he'd played, but that didn't happen. And then, as you said, the Bournemouth loan didn't really work out. I think Travers obviously was playing well, but I thought maybe Woodman would get a chance, but obviously it didn't happen. So it's kind of been a wasted year for him, really. He hasn't developed, he hasn't kicked on as he would have wanted. So now he's back to square one, in the sense he's looking for a Championship loan. I think for Preston it would be a great signing. We know how good Everson's been, but he was a loan signing, so he's gone back, and now it's about trying to find a replacement. And yeah, Woodman's as good a realistic option, I think, that's out there for them. So yeah, I think if they can get this one over the line before any other interest does materialise, it would be very smart business for them.
Just last call before we go on to our last one, a done deal. Any rumours, any bits of news, any confirmed signings, or any players that you would want to sign for your club, make sure to drop your comments in and we will get to them. But Chris, we'll go to our final topic of discussion, and it is a done deal. It's Isaac Hayden joining Norwich City on loan from Newcastle. A player with a lot of Premier League experience, a lot of desirable attributes that will bring to the table at Carrow Road. And is he the kind of player that could help launch a promotion push for Norwich?
Yeah, I really like this signing from Norwich's perspective. I think if anyone who's seen them play this year, it's frustrating to watch them even as a neutral. They're just so soft at times. I see them easy to play through. They concede goals without the opposition team to do much. And I think in Hayden, you're getting a player who brings aggression and a strong mentality to the team, which has been lacking I know admittedly it's in the Premier League, to be fair. In the Championship they have obviously done well over the years, but yeah, I think Dean Smith needs to get in a few more strong characters, some more physicality into the team, and this is a great signing. I think he was unfortunate with how things played out at Newcastle with his the timing of his injury, and then the new signings meant he couldn't play a part under Eddie Howe for the run-in, as he wasn't in the squad. But I think really I was quite surprised maybe a lower end Premier League side didn't take a chance on him. So for Norwich to bring him in, it is a good bit of business. I think at 27 as well, he knows that if they can get them promoted, I think there's a permanent move that will be triggered. So he could be there for a few years if everything goes to plan. And I think for the first real big signing for them this window, this is a strong start for Norwich, and a good move by Smith as he tries to mould the team in the way he wants to try. After the way they played under Farker, it's probably going to be a bit different.
Well, that is all we have for you today. It's in fact all we have for you this week. Of course, we'll be back next week with a week full of content, including more of these transfer shows and other little segments coming from the EFL and about what could happen in the transfer window. As we said, we've now entered the territory where signings are likely to become a lot more likely and a lot increasing in volume. So make sure to keep your eyes out for your clubs and for other clubs, because it's set to be another busy summer. Chris, thank you very much for joining, and thank you everybody else for joining. And it is bye from us.